And here we are. Welcome, everybody. And welcome, everybody. I'm so excited. My name is Ms.V, and I am the host of Let's Talk Careers. Today, we are going to have an incredible conversation. We're going to be speaking with Sorcha Coyle, who is an career and money strategist. In October of 2022, Sorcha left teaching. She is a certified professional resume writer. She's an expat career and money strategist, and she's the founder of Expat Teachers since 2017. Sorcha helped hundreds of teachers find great teaching jobs in countries around the world like Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, United Arab Emirates, many more. She's helped teachers create plans, gain six-figure salaries, and love their jobs. Welcome, Sorcha. I'm so excited to have you with me today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Ms.V. Maria. I'm delighted. Looking forward to our conversation.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Well, we're going to jump right in. I just want to say to all of our audiences on Facebook, here on LinkedIn, live on YouTube, and of course, we are live streaming on Instagram as well. I've got NASA station in front of me, so I apologize. Kind of see my head going back and forth, but it's because I want to make sure that comments that come through are seen across all these platforms. We're going to be talking about all things careers, but we're going to really niche in on a very specific topic that I have not heard enough of, and that is how can we help single mothers who are teachers and are expatriate bound, meaning they want to leave their home countries and travel with their children to teach abroad. And we're going to be talking about how you can bring some of those incredible tips and skills that you know are going to be foundational in those processes for them. So if you are a school leader watching this right now, I encourage you to tune in and find out why hiring a single mother is going to be an incredible experience. And if you are the friend of a single mother who's also a teacher, make sure to share this replay. So Sorcha, let's jump right in. Tell us about some of the tips that you know are no-brainers, regardless of your status as a teacher. What would be that number one tip that you think, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're a teacher and you want to get that next job, this is the number one thing that you need to remember. And then we'll dive into our niche conversation.
Absolutely. For me, I think you have to think almost like a business, in the sense the majority of international schools are businesses, and even the ones that maybe aren't businesses, you still think. So you're still thinking about, the candidate I'm looking, you need to sell yourself as the best candidate. You need to stand out from many other candidates. I know I spoke to a client there this week. She was selected from 160 people for an interview. And then there was another one from last year. They had 600 applications. So it's very competitive. So my one big tip is never send the same generic CV and cover letter to the international schools, the different jobs. Always tailor it. There's 150, hundreds of people. If you just send a generic CV, it's obvious from a mile off that it's not been tailored. It's not, they haven't taken into consideration maybe the international school, maybe their vision, maybe their curriculum. They're not using the terminology of the curriculum that they're applying to. You really have to show how you will be a standout candidate. There's still sort of this maybe misconception that, years ago you could maybe go abroad with a TEFL and an English-speaking passport. It's not like that, especially in Dubai and UAE. It's unbelievably competitive. So I would say always tailor it. And think about it. If you are, the head teacher, the HR, you're giving this opportunity to somebody. You kind of have to prove yourself at that point that, yes, I have research the school. Yes, it is for me. I have, good attention to detail. I do care enough and I'm enthusiastic enough, to apply to this. And I've done my homework really. I have adapted. So that for me is really important. Always tailor to every single ad, every single school you apply to.
I love that you said tailoring, because that's something that when I'm meeting with clients, or when I'm having conversations with young people about their CVs, and in other parts of the world like North America, they're more into that resume. And I'll tell them, you've got to kind of tailor it to what you're applying to. And they're always really surprised, because they're like, that's a lot of work. How am I supposed to do that? That's like a full-time job. What are some of your kind of go-to, yes, it is a lot of work, but how would you end that phrase when a teacher might say, Sorcha, that's a lot of work. I don't know if I have time to do that.
Well, what I would say, probably 2-3 ways. I mean, the most obvious one is like, obviously you can work with me and I can do it for you. That's like one thing. But actually, I think everyone's capable of doing it themselves, in the sense that it's always good to have like a generic CV that you've written that's really fantastic, that it's a living, breathing, working document. You're constantly adding to it. Have that outstanding generic one. Even if it goes to like 3-4 pages, that's fine. But then from that, you can then tailor the CV. So obviously, if you're applying to certain schools, you might remove certain skills or certain duties or highlights, because they're not the priority for that school. So I would say to have like have an amazing, document that you can always work on, but constantly add, if you remember, I did the CPD, add it in quickly, even if you're not looking for a job yet, like just keep track, and then you can always edit it. But once you sort of have the bones of an outstanding CV, which is again showing, how you teach, you're showing how you assess, you're showing how you cater for all learning abilities and styles. You can't underestimate a good sense of humor in a team player, because likability is a huge factor, as well as, being an excellent practitioner. But I think, making sure you're showing that in your CV.
So now let's jump into the conversation of being a single mother, or even a single father. Let's not forget those single dads out there. But for that single parent with dependents wanting to travel and become an expatriate teacher, what would you say are some of the go-to advantages that school leaders really need to be thinking about, and not overlooking these single parents on that journey of hiring teachers?
That's a great question. I would say I've worked with like single parents in the past, and obviously when I was teaching abroad, I knew different single parents, who were working abroad. Like, they have so many amazing advantages, usually very organized. They tend to be more experienced in that curriculum, hardworking. I do believe if their child is there and happy in the school, or their children, they will stay longer. And that's what really, international schools should be looking for. I know it's a really important factor when you look at like which school advisor, you look at the teacher turnover. And if you see the teachers are leaving every 2 years, I know it happens, but it's not necessarily the best foundation for a school. A lot of the top schools, they have the long staying teachers, and that could be single parents, it could be teachers with families. So I think really it gives a grounding to the school. And that's one thing I say I have to notice in Dubai. I do feel like a lot of schools are going down that path, through maybe because of business, etc. There's budgets, there's limits, and there's a tendency with some schools to employ and only hire cheaper, newly qualified candidates. As a result, that's really changed the demographics of the school. It's really changed the demographics of Dubai. And that's something I think did not necessarily happen in Qatar. It was a really nice blend of everybody. I think to give that kind of more grounding feel to a school, it's nice to have the older candidates. It's great to have the candidates who are invested, because their children are there. They're going to make sure they're coming from the aspect of a teacher and as a parent. So they're going to make sure that there's academic rigor, the lessons are challenging, that they're really doing the best for the students. It's not only, and I'm not saying this is because teachers are young or single or anything, it's not only they're coming for like, a jolly kind of 2-year experience to go out and stuff. Nothing wrong with that. We all do that. But I think it's great to have the balance of both. You've got everything. You've got the grounding, the experience, academic rigor, and then you've also got the younger people maybe who've got like a few more ideas or more recent kind of initiatives. I think that creates a really wonderful school environment. And I would say as well, sorry, my tip for that.
I'm just saying, so important. That is definitely so important.
I think as well, broaden your search. You know, I'm like working with candidates at the moment, and I see these schools outside UAE who are offering like up to 4 school places. I mean, very few schools in UAE offer that, or especially Dubai. So I would say broaden your focus to outside Dubai as well, because there are schools, particularly in Asia as well, that are really, really excited to work with single parents who have dependents. So don't limit yourself, because even with all the best tailoring of your CV in the world and the best research, if a school is on a budget, or they're looking to like make maximum profit, and they're not looking to necessarily not necessarily it's through no fault of your own, that factors out of your control. So I'd say therefore go to a country where that's not such a big factor or a big obstacle.
That's really hard. So again, what I'm hearing you say are definitely are these benefits, but also for that single parent to do their homework and not just to kind of go where the momentum, I guess the trendsetters are going. Very, very interesting. And I think, would you say that there's, more of a community within an institution of other schools outside of the UAE that would be even friendlier to a single parent and their dependents?
Well, I would say where you're looking at Asia, particularly China, packages are outstanding. Qatar, overall packages seem to be better. Therefore, you'd have a better standard of living, right? If the money is better. You also might get better accommodation. You might get a choice. You might be living in a compound with other families, even just the demographics of the school. You don't want necessarily to be the only possible single parent there, right? You don't want to be just, everyone who's like 21 and super, has is on a different stage of life to you. So I think that's really important too, is to look at the demographics of the school, like go onto their website, look at the kind of students, go to the staff directory, not students, beg your pardon, look at the staff directory, look and see like, are they like maybe similar age or background to me? So I would say, there's like lots of factors, because you may have to, if the children are quite young, you may have to get a nanny. That's also a factor to consider, so you need to make sure that, the school or your salary you can afford the nanny, like your visa, you're able to get a nanny easily. They might offer assistance, so you may need a bigger accommodation because you have a child rather than just a single. So it's again making sure that it's provided for within your contract. Obviously, school places need to be free. If they're not, it's going to be very impossible. Very, very tough to pay. So there's like other factors to consider, and also as well, I would say looking at the stage of where your child is, and making sure that school is the best fit for them. If the school will also suit their requirements, your children's academic requirements, if they have special educational needs, can the school cater for that well?
So much to be thinking about. So much to be thinking about. Now let's go into your role as you're an expert in empowering those expatriate teachers. What are some of the faux pas that you have identified with your clients that you urge caution to anyone considering taking that next step?
I would say leaving it too late. Recruitment abroad begins much earlier than what we're used to back in the States or the UK or Ireland. Really from October, the October beforehand it starts, particularly in Asia, the top schools in Asia, and also for leadership roles. So that's really, I would say, really start your planning and preparation, your research way before that. Because by not carrying out that research and leaving it to last minute, you're already then minimizing or reducing the number of schools you can actually apply to. And you may not get the best one for you. And that can, over a long period of time, that's like a huge difference in salary, right? If you're going to schools that have, it could mean that. So I would say start it as soon as possible. If you're even thinking about it, start the research, start posting on the Empowering Expat Teachers Facebook group, which is mine. There's really good ones. There's international single educators, there's international school teachers. Put some posts up, think about what you value in a workplace. And I know for me, I'm talking about money and salary and packages. It's just because I'm very passionate about financial empowerment aspect of expat teaching, as well as the professional fulfillment and satisfaction. That's also super important. But let's be honest, I think the majority of us do go abroad, because it is tax-free and because we don't pay accommodation. Like, let's call a spade, you know what I mean? That's a drive for a lot of us, right? We want to grow professionally in a different environment, but also we want to make those life-saving changes that hopefully will help us in the future. Help us buy a house if we can't afford to do it back home. Like if you look at salaries in the UK, they're in America, they can be quite significantly lower. So really, I'd say start the research, start looking at your values, think what's important to you in a school. And I'll give you an example why I think that's so important. My background actually is English second language. I love it. I've always worked with Emirati students, Qatari students, absolutely love it. However, there's a lot of schools abroad that are full, like maybe local or full English second language. If you're coming from a school where you've never taught English second language before or taught children with those needs, that's a big learning curve, right? So that may not be the number one best match for you, best match school for you. But if you don't do your research, you may not know that. And you end up going there and then you don't feel professionally satisfied or whatever it might be. You know, it's just, you're just not playing to your strengths. Life is so much easier when you play to your strengths, when you know what your strengths are, first of all, and then play to them, you know, same in a job. So I would say start it as soon as any inkling, even if you don't plan to go from a year or so, start just putting that research out, start seeing what's out there, think what's important to you, researching locations. Don't discount locations straight away just because they're not the trend, like you said. There's so many amazing locations out there, so much choice. And I actually personally prefer smaller expat communities. I didn't really like Dubai when I first came here. I actually much preferred Qatar. I taught there for 4 years. It was a smaller community. I've heard great things about like RAK. I've heard great things about like Sharjah. It was like Alain, those like tight-knit communities. And there's if you're, especially if you're coming your own, or if you're coming as like maybe a single parent or coming, it's your first experience, it's actually lovely to come to a less anonymous, more, you know, smaller, tight-knit community, I would say.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. Alexandra just texted in to say good morning. Good morning, Alex. So great to have you join us today. Alex is also incredible at what she does. But, you know, Sorcha, let's talk about one of the topics that is trending right now in the world of education, and it's well-being. And I know we're kind of going off topic here, but I heard you mentioning about when a single parent is looking at choosing or selecting those institutions they might want to apply to. So I'm very conscious that I want school leaders to be listening to all this incredible information you're sharing. So with their ears kind of open and listening to this conversation, what should a candidate look for when they're searching for those institutions that help them to identify the fit, the right fit that you were talking about, either for their children, their dependents, or for themselves? And I think it doesn't matter whether you're a single parent or not. I think this is across the board for all teachers. So with that idea of well-being, what would you recommend your candidates search for on school websites when they're applying?
So first of all, I would say, and you heard me mention this before, the idea of determining your values, like what's important to you. And so that would be a big factor. I would say looking at seeing what the focuses of the school are. You know, is a particular focus that year? Like, is it literacy? Is it growth mindset? Is it maybe like high performance learning? Is it, you know, whatever? Again, life is easier when you choose something that you've already done, you've experienced in, and it could be a strength. So I'd say, first of all, looking at that, it's like when you see like IB schools, International Baccalaureate, and, you know, yes, I'm sure people who, you know, who haven't got the experience can still apply, but it's not like the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance is to go, if you're British trained, to go for British international school. So I would say, to make it a bit easier, you might be easier just to go for what you're familiar with, what you're good at. I'd also say, to also think about what your kind of more longer term career goal is. So if, you know, you want to get into fast progression, you know, leadership, you're quite experienced and you think, actually, you know, I think I would have a lot to contribute to a school. I went to a startup school in Qatar. Well, it was like in its second year. I love that because it suits some people. Some people don't like it if they're, you know, they like maybe you know, they want to go to a well-established place and they want to follow the policies be all written for them, and they're maybe, you know, that's just how they are. A startup school may not be the right place for you because there's lots of things go wrong. It can be, you know, you feel extremely flexible. And I love that because I'm quite adaptable and, like, you know, it just suits my personality. And I was also able to influence. So I was able to say, hey, you're going to need this in 2 years. I would love to do that. Here's my experience. Will you pay for my CPD, professional development in that? And they were like, yes. So you can have an influence. The second school I went to was way more established in Dubai. You didn't necessarily have that because everything was set in place. So I would really think about also what's your professional goals. If you want to go into leadership, would you rather be in a place where you can have a say, or would you rather just follow an established kind of leadership path, which again go for more established schools? In terms of other things at well-being, again, making sure that you're happy with your package, you're happy with your benefits. That's like financial well-being. It's and also, I think, for me, a lot of it is really playing to the strengths. Like the kind of think about the leadership you want to have. Think about the students that you feel most comfortable or you best teach. Think about the aspects of different education or initiatives that you've done that you feel comfortable doing. For me, it's always like the path. There's never one path, but the path of least resistance is the best. I feel the easiest one to start on.
Super. And then just kind of bringing it right back to where it begins. So teachers around the world are going to work. Some are really happy and fulfilled in their careers. Others have a gut feeling that this might not be it for them anymore. And I'm hearing this more and more from younger teachers. This, I don't think teaching is it for me. And, they're already looking for that exit strategy.
Mm.
When is that gut feeling the real, like, now it's really time to go? So you come across clients all the time.
Mm.
What have you identified as, what, when this feeling kicks in for you, it's time to start that search? I know you said that searching, especially overseas, happens a lot earlier than most people think in different parts of the world. So when should teachers kind of follow the gut, considering, financial, the basic needs are met and safety is met? But when have you seen in your experience that the gut feeling is more of an alarm bell and you really need to pay attention to that?
Sorry, Marie, do you mean in terms of changing international school, or do you mean in terms of leaving teaching or
Yeah,
changing career?
no, I mean, it could be either. It could be going from one school to another, or maybe, I'm sure you've come across teachers that
Mm.
have said, I'm done teaching.
Yeah.
When, in your experiences, when was that? Because I think teachers complain all the time, right? As in any profession, there's always those benefits, and
Mm.
sometimes the money isn't enough. And it's not about the money, it's more about the
Absolutely.
well-being, it's more about the community feel.
Mm.
Sometimes clash of leadership, sometimes it's the micromanagement,
Mm.
but
Mm.
sometimes that feeling of, because I often hear teachers say, I'm not happy, but it's better, the devil you know than the devil you don't. But when would you recommend that a teacher seriously consider leaving an institution for another,
Mm.
or leaving the profession completely?
What I would say to write out. First of all, I would say if it's like a long-term kind of thing, because there's a saying, never make like permanent decisions and short-term feelings, because we can always have bad days, particularly around like inspections, scrutinies, an observation didn't go so well, even like just hormones or anything. Things can happen right in our personal life, and we're just not, it feels like, oh, I have to go get a good night's sleep, first of all. Like, I would say there's a number of factors, a number of things I would recommend. So first of all, I would say write down everything that you dislike about your job, and write like every single thing that you like, and the other side, everything that you dislike. And then I would look at what's sort of in your control and think about how you can possibly improve those aspects, about what's in your control, what you could do to help yourself. And then the ones that are outside your control, can you minimize your exposure to them? Can you, eliminate them completely? Can you ignore them? So some of it is how we react as well. We can control how we react. We can't control how others act. I would say for all teachers are such amazing, amazing people. Like, we get wrapped up in teaching. Like, it's such a personal thing for us. It's not just a job, it's our identity. And that can be like a double-edged sword. I don't think anyone's job should necessarily be their identity. And I say that from someone, I've left teaching. I love what I do. I absolutely love it. I feel like it's my purpose, but it's not my identity. I try and keep a separate identity as well, because when things don't go well in that, it's not affecting me. It's not like, oh, it's a reflection of me. And it's, so that kind of separation of your job and yourself. Really, I would say talk to other people for sure, because actually there are factors like terrible leaders and micromanagers and people who are inexperienced and insecure, and they project that. I've heard that so much. There's about 15,000 members, expat teachers, in my different social medias. I hear it all the time. And I know, like we're saying, we do complain, but no one has ever messaged me and been like, oh, I didn't, get to go to I didn't get to go to the toilet because I did lunch duty. Whenever people get in touch, it's never about that. It's like serious, like harassment. It's bullying. It's like completely, these are serious issues that that are happening in schools. I feel more so in Dubai, to be honest, in UAE, I think, because there's such a bigger number of schools. So there tends to be more issues. But you have to definitely leave that environment with the best like yoga practice and journaling and well-being, self-care. If people are like that and it's like affecting you and it is like bullying, harassment, I think probably remove yourself from the situation when you can is the main thing, because I'm not sure of the protocol. Like really, it's different here. Like, we don't have certain measures that we would do back at home as teachers. So like, I don't know who's going to listen necessarily, So I would say speak to teachers who seem really happy in their schools and see like, are there vacancies or, what are their schools like? Start that. Remember, you're never stuck. Like you're never stuck. You have the choice to stay, the choice to change, the choice to leave. You're never, ever stuck. Even if it's a contract, find your coping way to cope. If you need to break contract, you need to break contract. If you know what I mean, your happiness and mental health is so important. But I would say, find out. There are some schools that I know loads of schools that people are super happy at. So again, go on your groups, post and ask, which schools take well-being seriously, which one would you recommend for like work-life balance, which ones would you recommend, and find out where they are. But and if it means you have to maybe leave the country, then you can leave the country. There's a million other international schools around the world. But look at what you can control, and if what you can control is too much, then you need to start thinking of steps of, I know a few of my clients this year, what I've had is they've been expat teachers for a few years now. And now they're working with me because they want to get, one of the like maybe top schools that are really competitive. And they're like, this is my last 2 years. I'm doing one more contract and then I'm out of teaching. And I'm hearing that more and more. So that's kind of people are. They're like, do you know what? I'm going to do my last 2 years, save this much, do whatever I want to do, finish off my travel bucket list, and then I'm out. So I think putting a time frame is also really helpful on it. Like if you're feeling like that way now, particularly not just in the school, maybe the school is great, but you're feeling like I want to leave teaching. Like we, as teachers, we are naturally very high performing, organized people, really, the most of us. So it's not like we're being irrational with this feeling. It's come from somewhere. And most of us have had it for years and years before we actually do anything about it. So I would say never minimize it. It's there for a reason. But start your exploration, whether it's of new schools, whether it's of new countries, whether it's of new careers. Give yourself that time. We're not naturally risk takers, most of us as teachers, so give yourself that time to research, see what's out there, get excited, see if does it meet your needs. You might need to save a bit of money. You might need to have money put aside for 3 months while you do some kind of training, or you're looking for a job, or you want to get a freelance visa and we're still staying in Dubai, but you need to like just plan for it. It's not impossible. It won't necessarily be like super easy, like you'll just, but it'll be worth it, right? If it's your happiness at the end of the day.
Amazing. So many nuggets of like really interesting things that teachers should be thinking about. And Alia also commented on LinkedIn. She says a teacher really needs to love what they do because they touch many lives at a very early stage. Teaching in Dubai is really very stressing, but you have to love what you do and do it right. What do you say to that? Because we hear this a lot, and I know I heard this all the time during the pandemic, was that teachers should love what they do. It's almost like teachers are supposed to be superheroes, but teachers are humans as well. And it's okay that you love what you do, but as Ali is saying, it can be very, very stressful. So I think going back to those tips that you gave about well-being, very, very important. But how do you respond to that comment when people say, you know what, Sorcha, I don't know why teachers are complaining. They have all these holidays, they need to love what they do. They're so lucky.
Oh, I would say try and do teaching for a year, and I think you will change the tune. Since I've started my own business, I probably work as many hours, if not more, as I did as teaching, but I'm nowhere near as exhausted. And I think it's because in teaching, you're answering to 1,000 people. You are like, for me, I'm like, today I'm going to work my business for like whatever, 12, 15 hours if I wanted to. Okay, I'm going to do, these are my 3 focuses. I'll get them done. Satisfaction. I feel I've achieved something. Yes, I've worked hard. I'm a bit tired. There's no such thing as 3 tasks in a day for a teacher. It's 3,300 million tasks, and I think it's that constant having to adapt on the fly. Your day is never the same, which is exhausting anyway. You come in, you have the best laid plans. A child gets sick, there's a safeguarding concern. There was a really brilliant post someone put up there about their daily life in the UK, and oh my goodness, it was, you're dealing with human beings who've got human needs and human issues, whether it's your colleagues, whether it's your SLT, whether it's the stakeholders, whether it's the students. And if you've got, like, in secondary, I had whatever periods a day, and that was like whatever 15 to 20 kids, which is even this lower end of classes in Dubai. In Dubai, oftentimes they're 28, 30. You're interacting with hundreds of people a day, and you're taking on their issues, and you're taking on their stresses, and they're trying to help them. And I just think there's so many tasks. Like, it's just so mentally draining, exhausting. And what I would urge, and I would love to know, is that for so many of these tasks, I'd love to see the research that prove that they improve, the research to prove that they actually do benefit children's learning. Because I do think some of them are a little bit, let's put a nice picture on the website. This looks nice for parents. And it's actually like, wait a second, I get that. But at the same time, if it's exhausting and putting your teacher, causing a burnout, and your teacher at the end of their tether where they're actually almost having a mental breakdown, is it really worth it? Like, let's be honest. I just, for that, I just so many tasks. I mean, it's so hard because I find for me, maybe separating my identity from it, where I didn't take things as personally. So do what you have to do to get through the day. And then I think collaborative works out really well. I know it might be for all, but I know I had, head of department in the past, and we did so much collaborative planning that really helped. So you weren't like planning your 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Someone would take 7, someone would take this, someone else would take this. And then because you only have one, you make the best effort you possibly can. You really, because you're sharing with other people. So you make sure it's amazing, and it's, doing everything, and it's really well thought out and planned. And then you share, and that was lovely. So if that's something, because that could be one way. But I think teachers already don't know that, and they do it, and they're still exhausted. So it's really a really tough one. I know, like, an amazing head teacher I know in a school, they do things like they put, like, the staff have those days at the start of the year to, like, sort things out for the kids to come back. He put it online so people were able to spend more time at home in the summer.
Amazing.
I mean, that's thoughtful, and it still worked. People still got everything they needed done. It's an outstanding school in the UAE, but it's human led, it's human centered. It's not just, when I hear things like that, I just think, not forgetting people are human and they have issues, and you come in and you don't know what people are dealing with behind. That's students as well as staff. There's different issues going on. And sometimes when you're so busy and exhausted with 1,000 tasks, it's hard to check in with other people. Yeah.
I remember when I left teaching in 2016, I left full-time teaching, and I decided to go and specialize in career development and build career services. What I remember was coming into work and having more empowering conversations with my students. I was still teaching and creating a lot of teaching content for teachers, but that time away from the pressure of being on every hour in front of a group of teachers. And in secondary school, I remember the challenge for me was remembering everybody's name. The institution had over 1,700 students, and in 1 week, I might have seen at least 300 or 400 of those students. And we really struggled with trying to remember everybody's names. And I remember when I left that full-time role of teaching, I was able to have more empowered conversations with students. I felt that I could connect with them more because I was having more time to conversate with them. And I remember teacher friends telling me, your job is so easy, you don't have to do what we do anymore. And I'm thinking, no, my job isn't easier, but I wish that every teacher could experience those same conversations. Because I don't know what it was like for you, Sorcha, but when I went into teaching, I went in because I really love working with young people and I wanted to bring that care with me to work. But somehow along the path as a teacher, I couldn't have that anymore because of all this pressure. Would you say that that's an experience that you also shared? And is that something that your clients come to you and that's one of the concerns that they have and why they want to leave teaching?
Absolutely. No one has ever said to me, I want to leave teaching because I can't bear being with the kids. That's their favorite part. When they close their classroom door, it's just them and the kids. That's, I think, every teacher's favorite part, and they're like, it's just so lovely. And, the successes you get from your students when you see kids who, have made some progress or finally get it or start, speaking and they're usually very shy or whatever it might be, they get great results or you support them in different ways. It's never about the students. That's why we went into the teaching. It's just all this excess admin. I think excess displays, excess. For me personally, what I think, and again, I was actually very lucky in both my schools because both of my schools in Qatar and Dubai, I didn't have that typical experience. I think that a lot of teachers have. I was never near burnout. The staff were lovely. The excellent staff morale. People were humans. Teachers were considered human and put forward, like put their feelings, and that was put at the forefront of everything, which was amazing. But I know, sorry, I've forgotten they were saying. So we're saying about the being put in forefront. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. What did you?
It's okay. It's okay. I think we're both in alignment in that teachers love.
They love being with the students. Absolutely.
And it's losing that quality. Ali has sent in us another comment. She's saying because of budgeting and lack of staff, keeping teachers busy with other tasks other than teaching. And she also saw this in all the schools that she experienced, both as a parent and as an employee. And that's really interesting. Sorcha, we could go on forever. I'm so conscious of our time. We can hear the buzzing in the background. We've got a couple of seconds before we have to say goodbye to everyone on YouTube, here on LinkedIn, and on Facebook as well. But just as we're about to head off, what would your one final tip be for a teacher wanting to start on that expatriate journey, or maybe for an expatriate teacher looking for that next institution? Is it too late for them to get that going? And if not, what's that number one tip?
We are now at the end of January. Well, no, I know there's a lot of deadlines still coming up, end of Feb. So never too late. I would say start your researching now. Start that research, start looking at schools that suit you, your values, your strengths. And I would always say to everyone is always never treat anything as a long-term, full-time, a long-term career. Like when you see all these Facebook pages where teachers are desperate to leave, they're like in the hundreds of thousands. If you see teachers going on strike, so it's not you, like, oh, it's me, I can't cope. It's every teacher, which tells us the problem is not us, it's the system, right? We can't necessarily change the system. However, I'd say to cope with it, give yourself a time frame. Be like, I love teaching, but I'm going to say it's going to be just even for yourself, so you don't feel stuck and trapped in the career forever. I'm going to go abroad. I'm going to give myself 5, 6, 7 years, 6 years. And by this, I'd like to have, experience in this curriculum. I'd like to maybe got some leadership experience. I want to travel to these countries and I want to have saved for my deposit for my house back in my home country, for example. Like, make it manageable. Like, it's never a long-term forever thing, So find the schools of the path of least resistance that best align with your strengths, and tailor your CV to everything. Use your network. I know you're brilliant at networking. It's something I need to get better at, Maria. But, again, speak to teachers who are already abroad in different schools. See what they're like. Do they enjoy it? Are there vacancies? Can you pass on my CV, please? That kind of close contact. Connect with people on LinkedIn, with head teachers of schools that you would like to work at. Do the research on the schools. Follow them on social media. Get a real feel for them and see if you'd be excited to work there. And that will come across in your CV and cover letter.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you again, Sorcha, for being with me here today. And thank you for listening and watching, whether you came in and zoomed back out or you stayed with us from the beginning. Thank you, everyone on YouTube. Thank you, everyone on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I can't believe we did all three this morning. We did do a little bit on Instagram, but I couldn't keep that going. So we're going to have to try and find another solution next time. Sorcha Coyle is a career and money strategist. She is also the founder of Expat Teachers, and she has experience working with clients from across the globe, helping teachers that do want to work in countries other than their own home country. My name is Ms.V, and I'm the host of Let's Talk Careers. If you are looking for some more career tips and advice, head over to all of our socials and you can tap into that. I look forward to seeing you all next month when I bring another incredible guest to Let's Talk Careers. Thank you, everybody. Bye, Sorcha. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.